Boy, that time flies when you're moving those clocks ahead, doesn't it, boys and girls? Welcome back, you crazy kids. Happy Monday evening. It's the 10th of March. Is it already the 10th of March? I can't believe it. You know, quad witching is next week. We'll talk about that. I know. I can't take quad witching yet. We'll get there. We'll get there later on this week. Welcome back to our nightly newsletter, kids. Am I on time right now? I got clocks over here, clocks over here. Where am I right now? Is this Russia? Is this Tuesday yet? Daylight savings time shakes things up this morning. Sideways trading ranges. Alexander Graham Bell. Mr. Watson, can you hear me? Come here, please. Welcome to our newsletter for Monday, the 10th of March. Now, let's first start out with what happened last week. Don't forget, we had non-farm payrolls last Friday. We gave you 3 trading opportunities last Friday. If you were paying attention last Friday, you made some money on those. We'll take a look at what happened in the news today, the markets we had today, and then we'll prep for tomorrow. Don't forget a little bit of this day in history, and then we'll also take a look at the charts here today. So don't go dropping off here too soon. Stick around for the end because I'm going to give you guys some trading opportunities to be ready for Tuesday. So here we are. Monday evening, what happened yesterday? Well, of course, yesterday was Sunday. Hopefully you guys and gals had a great time with family and friends. Remember, time is our most valuable commodity, so make sure you spend that free time with people you love, right? No sense in doing elsewise. On Friday, though, we had non-farm payrolls. Go back and rewind the tape, guys. Last Thursday, I put out the nightly newsletter about the same time we're at right now, and I gave you guys 3 different markets to watch: crude, gold, and Russell. Well, of course, if you were paying attention last week, you bought gold at 1326.6. That was a winner. Sold the crude at 102.68. And if you look at that crude trade last Friday, it was perfect. Remember that when the price jumped up at 9:30 last Friday morning on non-farm payrolls, or wondering where the heck that came from? Sure enough, goes right to that 102.68 and then right back down. So awesome opportunities, selling on crude, buying on gold. The Russell really going sideways here right now, hasn't given us much as far as the big moves here. We're waiting on it though, but boy, that Russell had a pretty busy week last week, so I'm sure it's taking a little breather right now. In fact, this does really kind of highlight the importance of a trader understanding the different ebbs and flows, the different kind of market personalities that each market can go through. Think of the mini Russell, right? Because I get a lot of people asking me right now, what's up with the Russell? Why aren't we getting those big moves again? Well, the Russell ran one of those ultra marathons. You know, those crazies that run like 150 miles, middle of the desert. All they got is a couple little gel packs, right? Little goo packs. Absolutely insane. But think about that's what the Russell's gone through. The Russell the past few weeks has run that ultra marathon. So now it needs a little bit of time to lick its wounds, right? Rest up a few days. And then basically, you can see here, this Russell right here, we're still just above that 1200. You know, we're flirting with that 1200, but we're staying above it right now. A little bit of a pullback right now, but to be honest with you, I'm actually surprised that pullback hasn't been larger. I mean, we're talking about all-time highs, $1,200 a share. This is a huge deal. So I'm surprised more traders aren't taking profit. It just goes to show you how bullish the U.S. economy and the equity markets really are right now. So just a slight pullback here on Russell. Don't you folks worry. We're not done with the craziness that is the E-minis here just yet. I have a funny feeling something big is coming there too. Remember, stick around towards the end of the call tonight because I'm going to go over the charts on the Russell and give you guys some opportunities to learn more about that. How about what happened today? So now you guys know what happened last week. Hope you guys made some money on those trades that we called last week. Markets today. Big mover today was crude. Boy, I know, guys, it's always a good thing to see this crude dropping, right? We always have this kind of emotional response to crude oil. You know, most of us as a day trader, we don't drive our automobiles very often. I know I don't work from home, but I work from an office that is within a mountain bike ride away, by design, of course. But, you know, inherently as human beings who consume crude oil, consume gasoline, consume commodities like that, we have a little bit, I'm not going to lie, I'm cheering it on as it goes lower, right? We all should be. We just barely got below that 101 today. In fact, went as low as a little bit above 100, right? 113 or so on Friday. And so hopefully here today we'll see, or tomorrow we'll see us get below 100 even. It'd be lovely to see us get below 100 even, especially since the weather's getting so nice around here in Los Angeles. We'll fill up the boat tank and hopefully save a little money on that one. So crude oil, big mover today, 197 ticks. Now 197 ticks, I'll be honest, really isn't that big of a range on crude, but we'll take it. Down 1.6% today. And again, end of the day just below 101, but really spent most of the day cruising down towards the 100 big round number. And remember, that 100 big round number is just as sticky and psychologically messy as that 1200 big round number we saw in Russell. Okay, so crude right around that big round number of 100 even. It's the granddaddy of all 100 numbers, of all big round numbers. Gold was slightly below crude for movers today. 174 ticks on gold today. Pretty much flat. We've really seen this kind of hesitancy in the gold market right now. Of course, we had a big jump up, big drop back down. You can see here on gold right behind me, pretty much just flat as a board. Right around that 1340 area here on gold. So pretty much flat as a board. 1340 be closing print today on gold. And of course, we can't forget about Russell. 114 ticks on Russell. Russell, as you can see, really narrow, really flat right now. Crude was narrow and flat today too, but then it just started tumbling. Mini Russell, though, down, 0.15 basis points, right at that 1200 number. Now, think about this, kids. If we see the price sit here at 1200, what is that telling us? It's telling us that traders are not taking profit. That's one thing. It's telling us they're also not seeing reason to buy, right? That's another one. We can't forget about both buyers and sellers. So buyers, for some reason, don't have a reason to take profit right now, but they're not buying more. We also know that sellers haven't attacked this big round number yet. Sellers haven't attacked this all-time high. Why? Well, probably because those sellers agree with my opinion. And that is, it's only a matter of time before we make that new high again. That's why when we have these big bullish trends like this in the E-minis right now, it's important you take out an hour chart, a 4-hour chart. If you're a member in my trade room, a 21 Renko, something slow, something big, and wait for those pullbacks. Take out some wave patterns and get long on these E-minis. But don't do it on an intraday time frame unless you're trying to be an intraday trader. If you try to trade these long term, I do a lot of work with our clients every day about how to invest a savings account, right? Where would I put my money? We follow long-term trends and we don't buy at the highs, and that's where we are right now. So cool the jets right now, wait for a pullback. I would imagine around that 1160 area would be a lot more buying opportunities down there. And again, don't forget, stick around and we'll talk more about charts at the end of the call today. So relatively big day on crude, but really not a lot of range today. What happened? What caused these markets? A lot of people woke up this morning and they said, where am I right now? What time is it? What day is it? We had daylight savings time. Now, we talked about this last Friday in our trade room, and of course, I don't do a newsletter on Friday because on Fridays they actually let me out of my cage here in the office and I get some fresh air and some sunshine. But the reality is on Friday morning, after we finished up trading non-farm payrolls, you already forgot about that, right? Non-farm payrolls last Friday. We talked about the impact of daylight savings time and the fact that humans are creatures of habit. And really what I kind of equate daylight savings time is imagine the whole country having jet lag. Imagine taking the whole country in the U.S., moving it to, anywhere else, right? 1 hour ahead. And now imagine what you're going to feel like after you get off that airplane. You're going to be disoriented. Your mind just can't catch up with. Well, basically what happens is it throws off the circadian sleep cycle. It throws off the cycle. So our eyes and our brain knows where that sun should be because it's there like that every day. If we switch that around, now all of a sudden it's not as easy as just changing the clock. The sun is still in the same spot. So your brain and the chemicals that it, of course, produces, it's tricked. And that leads to, right, the way that I feel after getting off an airplane for too long, right? I feel jet lagged. I feel drowsy. I can't focus. I lose track of, what time is it right now? And the big thing was, and this is what we told everybody on Friday, was to make sure that your computer was set up properly, because it was amazing today. We were kind of joking around in the trade room today, because at 10:30, 10 o'clock, prices jumped, and we had this weird personality spike at 10 o'clock this morning. And we said, well, I guess everybody was late at 9 o'clock today. And that's really what the story was all about today. People coming into their offices, having one clock right, one clock wrong, having to call, right, whoever, hey, what time is it right now? And then on top of that, NinjaTrader had some server issues first in the morning this morning. So it was a rough and tumble start to the day. I encourage everyone in our trade room on daylight savings time to really trade carefully, because we know that while you're being affected, so is everyone else. And you want another curveball? Another one? You want another one? Here's another one. They don't change their clocks in Europe until the end of this month. So now the 11:30 closing bell in Europe now becomes a 12:30 closing bell. What? Yeah, as if there could be a little bit more impact here. So of course, we always look for great trading opportunities at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Well, guess what? That goes back an hour. It's now 12:30 Eastern time, and that'll be the case until the end of, the month of March. So we have it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge trading around daylight savings time. That was the big news today, believe it or not. There was no major news on the calendar today. There never is the Friday after non-farm payrolls. We had very low volume. In fact, reading the numbers today, we were about 15 to 20% below average volume on the NYSE, on the NASDAQ, so very low volume. We did get some news overnight, and there was quite a bit of range on crude oil overnight. In fact, we opened up this morning and saw this big gap down. This crude, gold, all the markets got, really the most important markets were the European markets. They really got their behinds handed to them early in the session. But we saw a weak trade deficit out of China. Now, I want you guys to think about this for a second. This is one of the most complicated news events to understand. Whenever you see trade balance, trade deficit, the word trade deficit is very simple, but it can be a little bit difficult to understand the first time you do it. So write this down. A deficit means that I am importing more than I export. All right? A deficit, a trade deficit means I am importing more than I'm exporting. Okay? It's kind of like being in a deficit where you're spending more, than you're producing. Another way to think about it. Now that you know what a trade deficit is, I want you to think about the country in the great economy of China. Where does China make its money? What is the number one industry in China? What is it? Manufacturing, The Chinese GDP doubled in 10 years. Doubled. Okay? Ask President Obama, ask Janet Yellen what if they would like to see our GDP double. Yeah. GDP double means a couple more $1 trillion in production in the U.S. So China's GDP doubled on the backs of manufacturing. Now, certainly we know that in China, they're not making all these widgets to be consumed in China, are they? What are they doing with them? They're assembling this alarm clock, They're building my remote control. They are doing all the they're basically mostly assembling, not really designing, but assembling and exporting these products around the world. So China's trade deficit means that a country that is known for and has made all of their growth in their economy on exporting products around the world, Low cost goods for us crazy consumers in the U.S., We're a consuming country. We are a country of imports here in the U.S. In China, they're a country of exports. So when they run a trade deficit, what does that mean? That means that China, and I think it was the first time in 11 months or so, actually reported to import more than they're exporting. Now, I'll tell you right now, I don't sit around the table in Beijing when they have meetings of parliament, but I can tell you right now, that's going to be a big concern. All right. Imagine if your country's number one product was exports and you're not doing that anymore. Sounds a little bit like, the United States after the auto industry slowed down, the steel workers, after Detroit went BK. Sounds a lot like what we went through. An expanding business that all of a sudden just dries up. What's going to happen? We don't know. But that's what caused all the mayhem early this morning, because the world's second biggest economy, right, in China, when we find out their trade deficit, and that's their biggest industry in China, it's a big deal. So that's what got things moving. Just a real sad day today, guys. As somebody who frequently travels to Asia, seeing that Malaysian jet still missing. I'll tell you, I was talking to my wife this afternoon about it. My heart just goes out to anyone who has family members that were involved with that. I couldn't imagine. I just could not imagine. Talk about my definition of an absolute worst case nightmare. So definitely say your prayers here this evening for the people trapped inside that Malaysian jet. I really hope they took a pit stop to Bermuda for a little Mai Tai and some beach time. But I have a funny feeling, though, this is not going to end on a good note. Also, the drama continues between Russia and Crimea. Impact on the market's been very limited. It's been amazing how we literally had everybody just focused on Crimea for 2 straight weeks. And then now it's like, whatever, shots fired, missiles launched. Yeah, they'll get over it. It's really amazing how it's whatever the media wants to pay attention to, isn't it? Right? If the media decides that's news, then I guess we're supposed to care about it. One of the things that is difficult about being a trader, which is also the easiest part of being a trader, is that whatever the most amount of people are paying attention to is what we have to pay attention to too. All right? If the media came out and said, this just in, the most popular color is purple, we'd have to be paying attention to that too. As ridiculous as that sounds, day traders, we must remember that it's the wisdom of crowds. 100,000 people can never be wrong. They can't. 100,000 people standing out front of the of the U.S. White House, they're going to get in, whether they like it or not. They can't be wrong. Right? It's what our democratic process is based on. The wisdom of crowds. Whatever the most amount of people, the collection of the masses. So we have to be aware that even though we may not agree with the news that we have to deal with, as day traders, it's very easy for us. Just turn on the television set, or as I would say, turn on TradeTheNews.com. I don't really like television because it's all lies and propaganda. But the reality is whatever is on the TV set, unfortunately, is what we're going to have to be paying attention to. Take it or leave it. It's part of being a trader. This day in history, March 10th, 2014. How about 1876? The first telephone call. Mr. Watson, come here. I need you. We have Alexander Graham Bell. Boston, Massachusetts makes the first telephone call to his assistant in the room next door. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool, right? Now, rather than having the wind-ups, now we got this little bad boy. And it's amazing now because I don't need to talk, I just type, right? Oh, I talk like this and it types for me. Pretty remarkable. 1876, 2014. Probably 2015, 2020, right? Embedded in my ear, I'll just go, hi, sweetheart, I'll be home late for dinner tonight. Okay, see you then. It's incredible what technology can do. So Alexander Graham Bell, and of course, our boy, a very, very popular inventor here in the U.S. March 10th, 1969, James Earl Ray, sentenced to prison for 99 years for the murder of Martin Luther King Jr. Kids, if you don't know Martin Luther King Jr., please take the time to learn who he was. He wasn't just a very popular figure. He was a very, very important person. Make sure you learn more about him. And it's kind of funny because nowadays, they wouldn't even tell you the name. You know, nowadays, somebody kills somebody, a public figure, they won't even put their name in the paper anymore, right? Now the victim's families say, don't even tell the world who this person is. So the James Earl Rays, right, those 3 name assassins, right, now those days are over. Here's some very cool news. March 10th, the year 2000, right? Remember that year 2000 and all the computers were supposed to like self-destruct and take over the world because of the Y2K bug? Yeah. That was serious. March 10th, 2000, NASDAQ closes at a record high 5048. Now, that doesn't sound very important right now, but that was the absolute peak of the big tech bubble, right? That was the big peak. Now, in the year 2000, the NASDAQ did 25% return. Not too shabby. But look at the year before. In 1999, the NASDAQ did 87% return. Where was I? I'll tell you right now, I was a senior in high school. This never even came up. And this is what I hated about being a youngster and never being introduced to what is we know as the markets. Why didn't somebody tell me? Why didn't somebody look me in the eye when I was a teenager and say, hey, guess what? There's this place that's filled with gold, and all I got to do is just dig down in and grab the gold out. That's all I got to do. What an incredible run, 87%. Could you imagine seeing that again right now? Now, here was the amazing part about the year 2000. Stocks in the NASDAQ were trading 120 times earnings. Unheard of, right? Basically, their valuations were well above what they were making on paper. The majority of the companies in the NASDAQ at that time were less than 2 years old and had never reported a profit. Could you imagine buying a company that never had reported a profit? The delusion. Wait a second. It's almost like buying 10 rental properties on the same street, getting 125% financing, negatively amortizing, and never paying it. Almost as crazy as that, right? What does that sound like? Oh, I don't know. The real estate bubble that happened 8 years later. So we had the tech bubble in 2000, and we look at this now and we say, who would have ever bought that? Who would have ever bought that? I know who would have bought that. Millions of people, right? Because at that time in our history, everything was tech. Everything was tech. I wish I was a few years older, I'll tell you that much. What's amazing, though, is over the next 12 months, that number dropped over 60%, right, as that bubble burst. Let's move forward here for news for tomorrow. No major news on tomorrow's calendar. We'll continue here to look and listen for news out of Russia. We'll hopefully find that missing airliner out of Malaysia. We do have some small news tomorrow morning. 5 a.m. tomorrow, we have GDP out of Italy. Probably not going to be that big of a deal, but just be aware. If you're trading the European session tomorrow morning, be aware of that. The most important thing for tomorrow is this evening, get some sleep. Get some sleep. Your bodies operate on a 36-hour sleep cycle. So if you didn't get any sleep last night, you're going to need it tonight. Catch up for tomorrow. Tomorrow, you'll be a little bit groggy, but get on through it. Get a little exercise. Drink those liquids, right? Clear liquids, and you'll be fine for tomorrow. So rest up for tomorrow. We get a busy day tomorrow morning. Another great opportunity. No major news on the calendar, which means my number one priority tomorrow morning is finding lows, finding highs, defining the trend, looking for areas of support and resistance, and then waiting for the market to tell me what to do. So tonight, stick around. We're going to grab some charts. We're going to get ready for tomorrow. We get a busy day on the calendar tomorrow. Well, not a busy day for news, but we know that with some narrow ranges today in crude, narrow ranges on Russell and gold, anything can happen on Tuesday morning. Stick around. Let's keep going. All right, kids. Thanks for sticking around with me here this evening. Let's keep going here this evening. It's Monday evening, the 10th of March. We're getting ready for a busy day tomorrow on Tuesday morning. Now, like I said earlier in the newsletter, we don't have any major news. So it's going to be very important that we get technically prepared this evening for whatever comes our way tomorrow. Let's start out first here with our VIP chart of crude oil futures. And I want to remind you all that if you head on over and log into SchoolOfTrade.com, at the website, log into your course materials, and I will have posted the other markets, gold and Russell, inside the members materials here this evening. All right, so I'm going to go over crude here this evening, and then if you're a member of mine, log into your advanced course. Under today's trade room recording, you'll find the charts for the Russell and, of course, for the gold. While I'm here, I'll remind you to go ahead and join our newsletter, whether it be on our website at School of Trade or over at sidewaysmarkets.com. Check out the newsletter there. If you're watching this video on anything else besides our blog right now, that address is sidewaysmarkets.com to register for the newsletter. Let's get started. Now, first things first, we talked about that news out of China overnight, that trade deficit in China. So Chinese are exporting less than they're importing, which means that's going to be a clue for a slowdown in the global economy. Now think about what that means, right? Global economy is going to be consuming those exports. If they're not exporting it, That means no one's ordering it, no one's consuming it. So that's what caused crude oil futures to tumble here in the European session, right, overnight. By the time we came into the picture here in the U.S., it had already made its big move, and so we already knew it was going to be a range-bound market. And in fact, if you're with me this morning in the trade room, my exact words were, we had a big move overnight, and usually when we have a big move overnight, usually pretty easy to predict these range-bound markets. And that's exactly what we got today. Now, get a couple clues, though, we can find out of this. First of all, you can see I've marked up resistance levels overhead, support levels below for overnight trading here. So use those levels above, use those levels below as areas of support below and resistance above. First of all, we had a 2-day relationship that was bearish. So you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out. Prices went lower overnight. But the big clue is the narrow range. This narrow range that we found today tells us we're probably going to see a much wider range on Tuesday. So be ready for it if you see clues for that tomorrow morning. We really had a very balanced day. We can close in the middle, right? We had all the volume in the middle. Now remember, this chart only shows the U.S. session from 9 till 2:30. There was that big drop down overnight in the London session, the overnight session for the U.S., but once we opened up here in the U.S., that work had already been done, and we were trading sideways. Volume in the middle, closing print in the middle, basically tells me that we are very content trading right around this 101.25 area today. Tomorrow morning, an opening print below 185, looking for sells. Opening print above 101.55, I'm looking for buys. So tomorrow morning, I'm looking for price to open above this area, looking for buying opportunities. Below today's range, I'm looking for selling opportunities. Again, here in the overnight session, I've got levels waiting for you guys here this evening. 102.28, 102 even, 101.77, 166, 142, and 116. As we go higher here, it's easy to see a target up here at 102.91, 103.02. Those will be, of course, targets for buyers. Once we get up there, I will be looking for a reversal, right? So I'll be buying on the way up to it. When I get to the area, I'm looking for a reversal. As we go lower, we've got this. Look at this wide open space down here. This means that we have not been below 100 in quite a bit of time. So I'm going to use the 113 as support, and I'm going to use support levels of 99.55 and 99.14. The biggest thing tomorrow morning is going to be if we get down around this 113. This 113 is my prior week low. Now, members of mine, you know that I like to avoid trading around dotted lines. See that dotted line? Right? That's the prior week low. Be aware, tomorrow, if we blow right through it, then nobody cares. But if we end up going lower and getting stuck in the mud here, that's going to be a big sign to sit on hands. So be careful around this 113. It's the prior week's low. You're going to see a lot of personality kick in around there, and it's going to be a little bit sticky. Think about it. If you're bullish on crude, you're trying to keep price above this area. Once it gets below that prior week low, now we've got the 100 big round number staring us right in the face, and we should be able to get moving lower to that 99.55 and 99.14 as we go lower. Moving forward here, moving over to our anchor chart here on crude. This anchor chart, very important. It's a very slow time frame anchor, and it just goes to show you here what we're dealing with right now. We're right around that 100. We've got a trend line of resistance. We spent the last few weeks here just chopping around this 101.81 to 104.34. And do you recall what I've been saying? That's right. Once we got below this key level of support, we'll call it 100, we're going to quickly move down to this 98.09 and 99.60. From there, we should be able to go down to that 94 to 92.58. But we're stuck here right now. It's been a combination of events coming out of Russia, news events, bad weather, right, daylight savings time. I mean, you name it, guys. We've had a lot of different little hiccups along the way here. So we haven't really been able to get this crude to make a move and push lower. Is that coming tomorrow? Is that coming later on this week? If you zoom in a little bit closer, you can see here, looks to me like a little head and shoulders pattern, doesn't it? There's your neck. There's your head. There's your neck. And of course, if you know how to trade these patterns, you take the break of the neckline and short to 98.09. All right, take a break of that neckline and short to 98.09. Want to hold a runner? 94 even and 90.95. Those would be some great trades there below us, obviously for very long-term trading. This chart is excellent to see that we might have a little bit of a stumbling block here, because you can see we've got this 100 area. We've also got the BMT on the chart. We've got some key levels of support here that may, with another day like we had today. Remember, we have no major news tomorrow, so we may get stuck in the mud there around 100. All right, like I said earlier, I've got my eye on that 113, which is that prior week low. That would be where I expect if we're going to get stuck. I could easily see us going lower, tagging that 100, and then kind of flirting around here a little bit with that 100, 113, okay, for tomorrow morning. So just be aware of that tomorrow. May not be the case tomorrow, but if it is, don't say I didn't warn you. Most important thing right now on this anchor chart is we've got major support here, major support below us. So we're going to have to get below 100. And if we can get below 100, I got 98 even right on our radar. Nice $2 drop there waiting for us. Moving forward. So you were wondering why we were so sloppy here this afternoon. Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that last night in London, we had a big move overnight thanks to Chinese trade deficit. So like I said earlier, whenever we get a big move in the overnight session, usually that means a much smaller move is going to happen in the U.S. session. If we have no movement in the U.S. session, then we expect to see a lot of movement the following day. So we're expecting to see a nice big range day tomorrow out of these crude traders. We'll have to wait and see what happens, obviously. Now, I have a monster target down here, guys, at the 97.78. Now, if you remember last Thursday night, I gave you guys that sell right there. So that was the sell from last Thursday. I know, I told you. Easy money here if you were paying attention from last week regarding the newsletter. So now we got to worry about this 172, 145, and then you got that 113. I don't think there's any reason why a little push and we're down to that 97.78. All right, remember we already talked about 98 even being a good spot for us. So we could definitely push to that 97.78. That is an extension target. 97.78. I also have another target below it at 96.38, but I'm not going to get too overconfident just yet, right? Wishful thinking there on crude. So looking for a short, which we got already there at 103.28. You've got to take some profit off at this 172, and then we're off of the race to the downside with that big target down there at 97.78. All righty. Definitely take some profit off as you go lower, 99s, 100s, right, at the support levels below you. And then last but not least here, here's the short-term anchor chart, the 13 anchor on crude, and does not look very exciting right now. There was where all the money was made today. That was where the big move happened today, nice and bearish. And then, of course, in our trade room, we kept on looking to sell it, but we just couldn't get it to make the big drop. So even though we had a pretty good day, right, on trend following, we still just didn't get that big drop yet. Now, you know me, I'm going to follow the trend, which means I want to trade short right now. But you tell me, guys, let's see who's paying attention. When I want to sell, do I want to sell at a discount or do I want to sell at a premium? Would I rather sell at a discount or sell at a premium? Think about your house. Would you rather sell a house at a discount or sell it at a premium? Think about your car. Would you like to sell your car to me at a discount or at a premium? At a premium, right? Easy. So right now, trying to be a seller right here, right now is dangerous. What I would rather do is I'd rather get it to jump up
give me a chance to sell at those highs. That way, I can be confident that I'm getting a good deal on it, I'm selling at the high, and it gives me room to take some profit now, buying at the low, right? Buying at a discount. So the whole trouble we're having right now is I can't justify selling right now. I'm at the lows, which means I either need price to go up before it goes down, and I will definitely be looking to sell this 101.88 or 102.12, but we may, and it looks like here, we may end up going lower. If we go lower here, members, be careful on this one, but you've got a potential here for a reversal pattern at this 172. Now, the reason why I say a reversal pattern is because you can see we're pretty much flat right now. We already know we have a sideways range in the short term. We already know that the anchor chart here on crude told us that we had some major support, right? Remember this chart? We've got that major support just above that 100 area. So buying here is not a horrible idea, but we do have to be aware, though, that this is a different type of trade. So members, on our best behavior here, that's a buy opportunity at the 172, but remember to protect that capital because, again, you're going against the long-term trend with that. It'll be a counter-trend reversal trade. I want to see price jump up so I can sell it at 101.88. If price does go lower, I can buy it here at 172. Just be aware, though, that will be a very short-term trade. If we do go to a lower low, I will still want to wait for price to retrace off those lows so I could sell it short. I've got a target here at 113, 145. 100 is the big round number. That's going to be a great magnet for you, great target at 100. And then we got 99.20, 98.82 on the way down here today. Again, what I would use is I would use this 97.78. I would use that 97.78 for any runners out there. 97.78 for those big runner profit targets tomorrow if you're going to be a short seller on the old black gold. Now, what about the gold? What about the Russell? Those charts are done. They're ready for all of our members to log into their course materials. So log in as a member of School of Trade and check out the charts for gold and Russell, and we'll be ready for another very exciting day of trading opportunities tomorrow morning. I had a great day today with our members in the trade room today. I hope you guys survived daylight savings time. Again, our thoughts and prayers with anyone being affected by that missing flight from Malaysia. I want to thank you guys so much for sticking around tonight and looking at these charts with me. You guys clearly are serious about making this career a reality. Don't forget to call me here in the office. We can talk about your trading. Join the free trial. Join the newsletter. And don't say I didn't warn you for another big move here coming tomorrow on crude. All righty? Remember to learn it so you can earn it. I'll see you guys here next time, same place tomorrow. We'll see you guys tomorrow for our nightly newsletter. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.